Okay, I can do this. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I am aiming to get like one of these done every 2 weeks. And I want to talk about this thing and the other stuff I've been working on the last couple of days, and I just need to get this done, I think. So, this that I'm currently working on is the test shot, or will be, or is like a very early test shot for a project I want to work on that's currently being called Project Hyphasia. That's just because it's called that because I misremembered part of what a mushroom is called, and my brain went Hyphasia. And it's a multimedia animated project. The long-term plan is basically to make a trailer, about 30 seconds, for an animated show that uses both traditional 2D hand-drawn animation mixed with both photo-scanned physical sets and then some actual CG animation. Maybe some live action, sort of green screened puppetry stuff as well. But right now, that's like going very out there levels. Right now, what I've got is this scene here, which is just some photo scanned sculpting mushrooms, which is just this guy here, just a little mushroom, and then it's just squashed, stretched, and rotated to make it look slightly like, give it some variation and yada yada yada. And yeah, no, I quite like where this is at. The animation quality's abysmal, but I think there is definitely a style of 2D animation that I can get to work with the photo scanned, hand sculpted 3D elements. That should get it to work. So if you just all look around, this is genuinely just a single plane over here that then it's being projected onto. The ground and sky are just placeholders. I've got no idea how I'm doing the sky. The ground, the planets, I'm just going to photo scan some actual dirt, and that'll be how that's done. But yeah, that's this is my sort of test concept. I'm very happy with how this has gone so far. I am very out of practice of animation. This was meant to be like bounce, 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 bounce. And then I sort of got from there to there over to here and realised I couldn't imagine this character pulling themselves up with how they're moving. And I went, well, there's sort of a bit of weirdness over here. Hang on. Oh, how do I pause? There we go. So when he gets here, this whole shot gets like this little section gets quite weird, and I went, nah, that's just someone struggling to keep standing. And I was like, yeah, I'll just do the little sort of hat falling off as a joke bit, and I quite like that. But yeah, thrilled with how this has gone. I'm in my head, I'm trying to think of anything else. Actually, let's talk about the mushroom for a bit. So this is just polymer clay, painted. The little frills, I don't know what these bits are called, sorry, little frills in here are so incredibly delicate. Also, I'm impatient and decided not to like properly cook this, so I've just been heating up with a blowtorch. So basically the outer millimeter or so of it is actually cured. The inside is still relatively soft, which is causing, can you see it? Yeah, there we go. Well, mostly because it's got the metal stick in there to hold it, but it's got some cracking. So at the moment I'm using a app on my phone called, I think, Polycam to take these photos, but there's only so many uses of that I get, and I want quite a few different assets. Because while rotating and stretching the mushroom can give it some different look, it's still pretty clearly one object duplicated multiple times. So I want to go with some thinner, differently coloured mushrooms, maybe some quite large. Most of them will be sculpted the same scale and then just like blown up or shrunk in Blender. Because, you know, I can just do that. They can just be moved around and... Oh, I want this one to just be genuinely massive. Whoa! Actually, I quite like that, but you can sort of see the... where it's sort of starting to fall apart a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, putting all of that back. There we go. So I'm trying to build a computer at the moment, basically a render server. It's not going to be my main computer, but my GPU at the moment, because it's an AMD GPU, can't do photo scan. It can't do anything that needs cuticles, which is what a lot of photo scanning stuff needs. Which means I need to go back to an older NVIDIA GPU, because I have a GTX 1080, which should be able to do it relatively slowly, because it is getting a bit old. But a lot of the software, I think, was developed around that era, so it should be handleable. But yeah, for now, I've got the app. I'm going to keep doing a lot of the testing with that. I'm going to get some dirt textures, or like some dirt models, just so I can have a ground. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying Project Hyphasia. I think it's neat. I think this has sort of shown me that there is, with better quality, is possible. Right, let's talk about the interest. I almost made a video about this on its own. So I said when I started doing this series of videos that there'd be one every about 2 weeks. I think it's been about a month. I grew pocket cress. I'm not going to show you it because it's gross now. But basically, I tried to grow cress in my pocket in a small glass vial thing, and it kind of worked. But there was a problem. I'd accounted for 2 issues so I should probably give a full explanation. I work in education. We were trying to go cress with the students. The cress wasn't growing, couldn't work out why. Most likely 2 options were that either the cress was dead, or that the material we were planting in, which was tissue paper, was drying out too fast because of our heating and cooling system. So, turns out it was the latter. The plants just weren't being kept moist enough, and they weren't being able to grow because they were drying out more or less overnight. And while cress will grow quickly, it does still need some number of hours in a row of being damp. So I was like, well, if I put them in a glass jar, there's nowhere for the moisture to go. So the moisture has to stay in there. And then I put it in my pocket, and it started to grow. And I was like, oh, wow, it's really working. Except it hadn't really occurred to me that cress is meant to be like a vibrant green, kind of like the outline green I've got going on with this little dude. It was more or less yellow, and turns out the reason for that is when you grow cress in a moist environment without enough light, it will instead grow very fast, very long, very weak, and very yellow in order to try and find sunlight. So yeah, Pocket Cress version 1 didn't work. And I have just said version 1, because version 2, get this, I haven't decided yet if it's going to be worn as a pendant in order to, like, get sunlight, or if I'm going to use some LED lights to provide the light that it needs. I'm thinking at the moment of just putting, like, I don't know if just jamming a white LED in there is going to be enough. Because part of my brain says, well, no, it's like it needs sunlight. It needs the full spectrum of light. But the internet seems to be saying that if you want a good grow light, just red and blue light are the ones you want. And I'm like, that doesn't feel right, but it doesn't feel wrong either. So yeah, projects over the last couple of weeks have been sculpt a mushroom, do a little animation. There is another animation I've done, which was the just full 2D version of this. I quite liked that animation. I cannot, for the life of me, get myself together to do... I'd have to, like, render it in... because I made it in Critter and I have to render it out, and I am, as you can tell, quite ill. I forget where the camera is because my face is over there and the camera's here. But yeah, fair bit of animation.